Hello, my name is Prashant Chandrasekhar. I'm Vice President and General Manager of our Managed Public Clouds business at Rackspace. I'm here with James Staten, Vice President and Principal Analyst of CIO Research at Forrester. Traditional companies are trying to innovate very rapidly across multiple dimensions to enable their digital transformation journeys. And I think that it's interesting for us to see the motivations and the reasons why companies are embarking on these, right? So they're not necessarily all I think, yes, you do have a class of companies that are responding to the disruptor in their space, and they're trying to do exactly, let's actually counterattack, if you will. But in reality, there could be a range of reasons, the reasons that we're seeing, whether that is agility and driving their developer productivity up, or if it's a cost strategy as it relates to their real estate assets and their DCs that they have or the data centers that they have. Or if they have been just part of a new mergers and acquisitions scenario where they're trying to consolidate and really kind of streamline their operations. It's a range of different things, whether that's revenue focused or whether that's cost focused. Ultimately, what they are trying to accomplish ultimately is all in the spirit of making sure that their customers, that experience continuously gets enhanced. And that's ultimately the objective. And I think it's an imperative now for almost every company is becoming, as Marc Andreessen once said, a software company, or software is eating the world, as he would say more specifically. And so I think that has become very much a reality. I think every company now has got a digital strategy. If it's not, if they don't have one, they're they're probably in trouble. And so this is becoming very much a theme across the board.
Yeah, exactly right. And to that point, just because someone is digitally disrupting you because they've got a mobile application does not mean that if you simply offer a mobile application, you're there. No. What are they using the mobile application for? What services, what capabilities are of most value? And do those align to why they use you? And oftentimes they don't. They may expect more from you or a different experience from you than they do from whoever is disrupting. And more often than not, the disruptor is coming in with just a small value proposition where you have a much broader one. How can you take your broader value proposition, use mobile, use analytics, use machine learning, use robotics to enhance the use of your broader portfolio of services and capabilities? That's going to be far more likely to deliver a digital value that your customers care about and is more likely to result in them caring about you more than the disruptor.
Yeah, no, it's a great point because, oftentimes people underestimate the power of the capabilities that these companies have built over the decades of investment and actually succeeding in the spaces that they've succeeded, right? So there's almost a little bit of an over pivoting of big companies get disrupted by kind of the startups of the world. I think that's not entirely true. I think that certainly, like you said, there are niches where that happens only because the incumbent is likely too sleepy or doesn't have the right incentive systems within the company to disrupt itself, if you will, to respond in a way that not necessarily directly with a counterattack, but more specifically, how do they transform their business inside out? So, and this topic leads me to think about, as we talk to a lot of big enterprises, many of them, I would say, if I were to think about the barriers for their success, a lot of it has to do with organizational change within these companies. They're just they take a lot of time to actually come on board with the fact that this is a new way of thinking about their business. They need a lot of people on board, from a kind of a buy-in perspective. And more specifically, I think beyond just kind of the humanistic elements, the other issue I think is the skill set shortage, right? So like you pointed out earlier on, we're seeing a lot of companies just not be able to keep up with the innovation that the cloud, et cetera, has kind of spurred, and that has really got some very interesting counterintuitive kind of incentive systems within these companies because they have these very large workforces that they're trying to almost kind of enable. And this goes back to the point of how can MSPs accelerate learning within these larger enterprises so they can actually boost into or leapfrog into kind of the new world, so they can actually be as close to Facebook with that deploys code into production hundreds of times a day. and that really allows them to be very close to their customers, and respond to their customers. And so that's probably one of the biggest observations for us that we've seen with big enterprises, just the internal, the internal change and the lack of, I would say, commitment ultimately. And there's always going to be, regimes that say, okay, we're committed to this project of moving to the cloud, et cetera. But they have to stick with it. It actually takes a long time to say and to commit to do things like, what do we do with mainframes? What do we do with, their old client-server technology? These are, fairly hairy questions for them to answer. And so you need a lot of, I would say, leadership and wherewithal to kind of, make it all the way to the end.
Yeah, and that's a really good point to bring up, because a lot of historical version 1 MSPs and even system integrators have a tendency to bring in proprietary technologies to help the company get to the next level, because since it's proprietary, the customer can't walk away. They're dependent upon them and want to keep them forever. But that's not how you deliver customer experience. If anything, that's the opposite of good customer experience, because they feel trapped. But when you partner with an MSP who is dedicated to teaching the internal customer about these innovations and about these capabilities, and that leads to them having better careers, that leads to them being the innovation leaders for their company, then they want to continue to work with this partner going forward. The key, of course, being that the next generation MSP has to constantly be improving its internal skills and its knowledge of new capabilities and functionality, which is why, to your point about, if you get 1,400 new products announced by Amazon in a single year, the leading MSPs need to be investing in those 1,400 every single year and have the expertise and knowledge they can bring back to the enterprise.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think that you mentioned like two different points that I think are critical. The first one, I think, is around how do MSPs like us actually accelerate that internal change and that learning, right? And what we've noticed is when we pick, along with the senior sponsors and these customers, spots where within the organization that really cares about making progress perhaps a little bit faster than others, establishing perhaps even a cloud center of excellence, if you will, or working with a business unit that really is trying to be more forward-thinking with regards to their digital transformation. That's a great place to start with just committing to a set of workloads, a set of projects, making progress, migrating them to the cloud, architecting them for the cloud, and really, using that as an example for the rest of the organization to leverage and keep moving forward with. And so that's what, historically, that's what we've done, and that has really been an effective way for our customers to really accelerate their journey, because it's almost like a mushrooming type of impact when they see us kind of really deliver on doing all those things, plan, assess, design, migrate, manage, and then ultimately optimize their environments for cost and architecture. And so that really allows them to really take advantage of our capability. Now, your second point, which is more about how do the importance of MSPs, next generation MSPs like Rackspace, to keep up with, the innovation that's up there. I mean, that's ultimately absolutely our obligation, our job, and kind of our duty to make sure that, our customers get the best of what's available. So I couldn't agree with you more. And this is part of how, customers can scale through companies like us, because, we've got, we have very, very regimented, training requirements for our employees, or as we call them, Rackers. And so it's been very effective for us to go from, back in 2015, 0 certifications on these public clouds to now, 1,400 certifications, right, within just 3 years. And that has been because we generally do a fairly good job of bringing in people that are very smart and very capable, training them up, putting them through very specific what we call Rackspace University within Rackspace, and they come out with very specialized skills and actually officially industry certified specialized skills using these certifications that these public cloud partners have provided. And then keeping up with the new technology. It's constantly in our roadmap. Somebody who leads this organization at Rackspace, I have to constantly prioritize. What do we make sure that customers can take the benefit of, that they can truly, can we push their business even further? As an example, we launched recently services around Amazon Aurora, that is very focused on providing database capability, database migration capability, Oracle databases into Aurora, to professional services capabilities in combination with our managed services. So really bringing the full suite of capability that a large global MSP like Rackspace can bring through our portfolio and our capability, ultimately to benefit the customer on a topic that's very, very, I would say, high impact. Amazon Aurora is one of their fastest growing, one of Amazon's fastest growing products in its history. So we see a lot of demand as an example for that. But it is almost incumbent for us to go and build services so companies and customers can take advantage of that capability.
Yeah, very good stuff. Because that's what you really want. Because digital transformation is not a 6-month project that you can now go back to doing your sustained job. Digital transformation never ends, because there are constantly new technologies and new capabilities and new experiences the customers want, and you need to keep working on those things. And what we are seeing, and I'm going to be writing about quite a bit, is that you have to also think about different cycles of innovation. You may be using the innovation to respond to a digital disruptor as your first movement towards your digital transformation, but down the line, you may say, gee, our assets are actually valuable to a different market, which we have not done business in before. Let's try building a service for that new business, and let's be the disruptor into that category. Or let's think really long-term. Let's think about some way that we can improve our customers' experience by 10x. It might take us 5 to 9 years to build it out, but by leveraging some of these cloud services that provide the underlying emerging technologies that would enable this, if we start building on them now, we might get there in the time frame where we can be the overall market leader. And to know that they can partner with someone who has expertise in these areas and is vested in their success because they are judging themselves on customer experience means that you're aligned on providing those new customer experiences that change your customers' outcome.
Well said.